Welcome back, everybody. Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy, here with Everything RVs podcast. Appreciate you watching, listening, wherever you may do, whether it's YouTube or on any of the streaming services out there. Today, I've got a special guest. I've got Gabe. He's with the family. They've been going around the country, actually living out of a Transcend by Grand Design for the last 3.5 years. And traveling the country, educating the camping community about tank maintenance. So they have a family. Their 11-year-old boy is homeschooled. The wife, she is actually working in the medical field. So a lot of things that he's going to go ahead and bring to light here today. So stay tuned for our podcast. We're looking to enlighten people, give them great information so that they can go out and create memories that will last a lifetime. Now, without further ado, let me bring Gabe on. I'm going to have him explain to you in more detail who he is and what he is all about.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good, sir. How are you this evening? Appreciate you taking time out of your busy day.
Full day of traveling, so time to take a break.
Certainly. Now, so, I did a little introduction telling people a little bit about yourself. Now, why don't we go ahead and start? So you say you've been full-timing for the last 3.5 years. What made you guys decide to get into doing that?
Well, we had the bricks and sticks, and we wanted to travel more. And so my wife was a healthcare provider at a hospital in Florida, and she came across some travelers who kind of gave her the insight of what they do, and we put two and two together and bought an RV and hit the road. Awesome.
And so what was the initial thought that you had when you were going to go ahead and start living out of your RV? What were your game plan, things of that nature?
Well, we wanted to travel and see this country. There's so many things to see, and most people are tied down in their bricks and sticks, and they go on vacations to go here and there. Usually it's where family's located, but we just wanted to go and see what's out there. We love seeing little small communities all over the country, little American towns, and be able to educate our son on just how great this country is.
Awesome. And so did you guys have a game plan in place? Because I know things have changed a lot since you've been doing it.
Sure. I mean, yeah, things have changed dramatically over the years. The original game plan was for her to take healthcare traveling contracts, and they're usually typically about 13 weeks at a time with the option to extend. We have extended a couple of times, but usually that's how it operates, and allows us. She kind of becomes her own boss, but she has a recruiter in between that says, here's a list of contracts that are available. We look at it, we plan it out, we pay for it, and move on from there. During that time, us being a Grand Design owner, we started attending Grand Design rallies, and we were at a rally in Myrtle Beach and seeing some folks providing different kind of services, from roof inspections to tank cleaning, and tank cleaning kind of hit the spot for us because I was going to go to the RV school. I don't mind learning everything, but I don't want to work on everything. So this kind of honed into one specialty, and I joined a network, and I was with them for about a year and separated. And now I'm the owner of Tank Rangers, and we have franchises all over the country.
Oh, that's awesome. So now, how long have you been educating people on tank maintenance?
It'll be 2 years in October.
Okay.
Yeah. So we typically do between 13 and 16 rallies per year. So that gets us a lot of exposure. Campgrounds, little private events, little gatherings, mini rallies, if you will. As well as social media.
Perfect. And so what can you tell the audience that would help them with their tank maintenance? Because you're talking both black tank and gray tanks, correct?
Correct. Yes, that is correct. Biggest thing is water. Water's your best friend. These are simply holding tanks. They're not septic systems. So you got to treat it, as something that's just temporary to hold the bio-waste until you can dump it. When the tanks come from the factory, they're pre-lubricated. Over a period of time, they dry out and things start to stick on the inside, and that's where problems are created. But if you use plenty of water and you leave your gate valves closed and let that volume of water build up so that when you go to dump it, pulls everything out. You'll have a better experience.
Well, I think you mentioned something very important, because I see it a lot about people that want to leave their gray tank valves open, and then they'll close it, maybe the day prior to them leaving. And why don't you explain to the audience, because I know the issues you're going to run into.
Sure.
But why don't you explain to the audience what type of issues you could run up against in the event that you're leaving your gray tank valve open?
Sure. So there are two things that major plays into leaving their tanks open is, one, you dry your tanks. Like I said, you're drying out your tanks. It leaves a foundation for debris to stick to. The second thing is you potentially could let sewer flies in there. And if sewer flies come into your rig, you can get rid of them, but it's a pain in the butt to deal with. You dry out your gate valves, the rubber seals, they always require moisture of some kind. There's a lot of good additives out there that can help treat everything and keep everything nice and lubricated.
Okay. I saw somebody just recently did a video, and what they did was they talked about P traps in their camper. Mm-hmm. And so what they did was they went ahead and made like a P trap on the outside with their sewer hose.
Correct.
Thinking that was going to solve the problem. But I have had a customer of mine that used to do that as well, until the time that they had a backup with the sewer system at the campground they're at. That's a mess.
It sure is.
And, it doesn't happen that often. And I've only heard of it that one time, but I'm sure it's more frequent than that. Have you heard of people being flooded out because the backup at a campground?
I haven't seen it in person, but I have heard those stories where the campground just has a backup, and then, of course, with their gate valve open, it pushes it right up inside their tanks, and next thing is coming out of their sinks, their showers, and you don't know what all that is.
Right.
So definitely a hot mess. We tell people, with washing machines, if you're going to do laundry and showers in the same day, leave them open, but at the end, you definitely want to close those up so that way you have no issues, especially if you leave your rig. If you're going into town to do shopping and everything else, I would never leave my gate valves open. I don't recommend that whatsoever.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, one thing that I have done from a maintenance standpoint, because I was actually years ago, I borrowed a pre-owned, and it was a reflection travel trailer. Mm-hmm. But the previous people really never took care of the black tank. I don't know what the heck they did, but it was so bad. I actually made a video about, I had an RV toilet backup. Okay. My daughter says, Dad, the toilet's backed up. And of course here I'm just using it. I didn't have all the things that I have nowadays. Right.
Sure.
And so I went ahead and went out, hooked up for the black tank rinse. I rinse that thing 5 or 6 times and everything's coming out clear, but I still have the dang backup. Right. So at that point, I just dumped a whole bottle of chemical in the toilet, and I figured, okay, let me go get some beer and I'll come back. So I came back and I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do a video. But I ended up, because I didn't have the tools, the only thing I had that would work, of course, I guess I could have used, hindsight's 2020, right? I could have used my thing for the poker for the fire pit, but I didn't think about that. But instead, I used, those nice long sticks you use for s'mores and so forth. Mm-hmm. I used that to break it up, and it finally broke up. But because of that instance, I never use my black tank ever again. I use a swivel stick.
Yeah. So swivel stick and your onboard sprayer, it's going to blow at max whatever the PSI that's coming out of your spigot. I typically call that a spot-free rinse.
Well, yeah. So, but no, correct me if I'm wrong though. The problem with the black tank rinse, it's coming out of the side of the tank, and it's typically just like a sprayer, right?
Yeah. So majority of the tanks are like a coffin, and the sprayers are located in the back, blowing towards the front where the gate valve is. Most of these RVs, except for motor coaches, the tanks lay flat, and there's usually about a 3/4 of an inch lip where the plumbing pipes into the tank. Well, that's 3/4 of an inch debris has to get up and over to get out. So that's where a lot of debris starts to create the problems. Right above the gate valve is where your sensors are. So that sprayer's idea is to spray over towards that gate valve and those sensors and spray them and try to clean them up, but it doesn't penetrate anything.
Right.
So, and most people's gray tanks don't have sprayers on them.
That's correct.
So we recommend a device by Valterra called the Flush King. And what that allows you to do, it attaches at your rig, between your rig and your slinky, and you can attach a hose up to it. And it has a gate valve on it. The gate valve's on the outside. So what it allows you to do is dam the water, force it up inside. It creates a vortex, a whirlpool inside, and gets stuff moving. And you can use that individually from your black and your gray tanks. It's a great way to get your kitchen tank flushed out, because odors typically happen in there. It's a warm environment, mold grows, bacteria grows, and so that's where people get odors, especially in the summertime.
Sure. Yeah. So, but I tell you what, I swear by that swivel stick.
People love it, and if you're happy using what you're using, absolutely. Additives is another thing. There's a lot of stuff out there that will break it down, but at the end of the day, there's no lubrication, so you just start with another dry surface for things to build up. So we recommend Liquefied. It's a product I believe that you recently had Matt on here.
I did.
So we partnered up with them. I professionally clean my tanks and decided to give it a try. We were using another additive for a while, and we never had an alternative. And after doing hundreds of rigs, we noticed there was a percentage of folks that just didn't like that recipe. So we decided to venture off and see what else is out there that we would like. So I gave it a try and gave it feedback, and I'm still using it. It's simple to use, it's easy to get a hold of, and it works.
So let me ask a question. You mentioned something about lubricating, and this is the first time I've heard this, and I think this is great for the listeners out there.
Sure.
Lubricating your tanks.
So look, a lot of people, you might have heard the recipe, the Calgon pine sol mix. The Calgon in there has an ingredient in there that puts a nice coating on it. It keeps it slick. I remember when my sister was a little girl, my mom would tell her, be careful when you step in the tub, don't slip. This is because she was using the Calgon. So it has urea in it, and the tanks can get slick. It'll lubricate the gate valves. Those gate valves is a blade that slides into a rubber seal, and when those dry out, they create friction. That's where it becomes hard to push in. So if you can keep that seal nice and moist, easy going with the gate valves. Unless it's on one, also sometimes they're on that spring cable system, and they get bent up and everything else. But for the most part, it's that blade creating friction if that rubber seal is starting to dry out.
So you're saying the Calgon with pine sol?
Yeah.
So that'll lubricate the tanks and the gate valves.
It does, but so does other additives like Liquefied. There's other additives, the powders and the pods. I don't recommend using because they take more time to break down the waste before you have to dump. So they create a sludge or peanut butter paste at the bottom of your tanks. That's extra weight. That you lose capacity, and it can create a hot mess. So yeah, Calgon pine sol is one of those things that we've seen people use, and I've used it before, and it works fine. But also the Liquefied, it works just as well.
Okay. So that also has some additives in there that will lubricate the gate valve and so forth?
That is correct. Liquefied has an additive in there that lubricates.
Okay. That's one thing Matt failed to mention. See that? I'm going to have to get on him about that. So anyway, but so what does it entail to have someone's tanks clean? What is the process that you're doing as tank rangers?
Sure. So what we do is we hydrojet the inside of the tanks. We bring it back to factory clean. Hydrojetting meaning that 1500 PSI, we go in there from the outside and we blast the inside. We don't damage to the inside of the tanks. At 1500 PSI, it's not going to even scratch the surface, but it will break up all the debris. And then we flush it all out and get them back to factory. Then we lubricate them. We use the additives to get everything nice in there. We start with 5 to 10 gallons of water, depending on what the capacity of their tanks are. And, we always tell people when you're travel with 5 to 10 gallons in there. Let it slosh around with the additives. Let it get it everywhere and get it all nice and lubricated and wet. And that way, when bio waste gets added in there, it's just going to hit. It's not going to sink to the bottom and stick right off the bat.
Well, so now, and that's a great thing for people that are traveling, okay? Mm-hmm. What about those people that are out there that are living out of their campers and they're really not moving around? That creates another issue
Sure.
And what would you recommend for those people so that they're going to have less problems in the long term?
Sure. Same principle. You start with 5 to 10 gallons of water. You always want to start with water. Water's your best friend. Use the additives. And then I do recommend getting their tanks professionally cleaned at least once a year. We do have people that twice a year. Depends on how well they maintain their tanks during the course of the year.
Right.
It allows you to give a fresh start with the tanks, fresh canvas to work with, and maybe they've been using the additive incorrectly, and we give them some education on how to make their experience better, so that way they have healthy tanks.
Well, and folks, ladies and gentlemen, I will have Tank Ranger's contact information down below, both on the streaming services as well as on YouTube. So that way there, if you want to get a hold of him, because he has a franchise, so he has people that are across the country. And
correct.
I'm sure you're looking to expand worldwide, aren't you as well?
We are. We got a guy we're speaking with for Canada and possibly Australia next.
Perfect. Now, there's something special that you do different. Let's talk about your logo.
Oh, yes. So the star badge comes from a little bit of background. I worked in law enforcement when I was younger. Both my wife and I are veterans, and she was in search and rescue when I met her, and I was a canine handler. So in the center is our mascot, our dog. He's an Aussie. He's a smaller breed, but he's a work breed than what I'm used to. But in an RV, we wanted something smaller. So he became our mascot. It was funny when we first got him and we were going to the rallies during rally season. People were like, they didn't ask when we were coming. They asked when Ranger was coming.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's where you came up with Tank Rangers.
That's right. We adopted him in Texas. We were down in Lake Conroe area, and there was an RVer there that went in a little tiny pod, and she had puppies, and they were about 8 weeks old, and I had to go take a look, and my wife said, and I said, and he went home with us.
There you go. So now you also are donating to a particular charity.
Yes,
well.
I have two nonprofits that I work with. Honor Flag Network is one of them, and we travel a lot with them over the past year. And then Iron Dog Canine International. Both are nonprofits. Both do wonderful work for the community and for first responders. The Honor Flag, for people that don't know, it's an American flag that travels all over the country to honor our fallen heroes, as well as Iron Dog. They do impact crates, bulletproof vests, and life-saving training for canine handlers. So kind of hits home for us. We have other franchisees that partner up with different nonprofits, from breast cancer to Scouts and Fraternal Order of Police for another one. So it's kind of the Tank Ranger way. We want to be able to give back to our community.
Wonderful. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. What Transcend model do you have?
I have the 297 QB. It's 36 foot, but it's really not a 297 QB anymore. We've kind of made it. We did a lot of modifications on the inside. It was a quad bunk. Now it's a single bed for our son because we have one child.
Right.
We had a water leak that eliminated the old dining room area. And now we have a couch that lays across there. So, but we got about 90,000 miles on it, and it's 2021. And we're growing, and we're ready for like a toy hauler.
There you go. No doubt. Well, listen, again, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I'm sure the folks listening and watching this podcast certainly appreciate the information that you provided here today.
Thank you for having me. And all of our social media platforms has educational information there. You'll find videos from tanks to cleaning them to the Save Drops to Flush Kings, everything. We're big for helping people out.
Perfect. Well, great. Well, again, thanks for taking time.
Thank you.
And thank you. So there you have it. Gabe gave us all the information we need to know so that we will not have, well, hopefully lessen the issues that we may have with our tanks. I know that I learned a few things that will be helping me moving forward. And please do, in the comments below, thank us. Let us know what you've if you learned anything, if this has been helpful. Also, if you have something that you would like us to cover, some particular topic dealing with RVs, it could be, locations, could be, RVs in general. But let us know, and we'll do our best to make it happen. So thanks again for tuning in. And as always, we'll be back the same time next week, same bat channel. Take care.